What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about Morbius, the film that was supposed to come out almost 2 years ago, and after 85 different release dates, we finally have this film in theaters today. So Morbius tells the story of biochemist Michael Morbius, who tries to cure himself of a rare blood disease, but instead inadvertently turns himself into a living vampire instead. Now, I was really looking forward to this film because I am not a traditional comic book reader. I don't know anything about the comics. And so seeing new, fresh faces in this superhero world, in this superhero era, this was something that I was really intrigued to see. I really enjoy Jared Leto. I really enjoy him as an actor, and I think he does a pretty fine job from time to time. Sometimes you get some diamonds in the rough, and sometimes you just get pure utter garbage. But I really enjoy him, and when he was casted as Michael Morbius, I was really intrigued because I don't know anything about Michael Morbius. I don't know anything about his lineage, his background, nothing. This is all new to me. And then the trailers dropped, and I really loved the trailers, especially when we get a couple of Spider-Man nods in the trailers. And so that was really intriguing to me to see how it was all going to fit. And I've enjoyed all the marketing for the past 2 years, from the very first trailer that released back in January 2020 to recent promotions. This movie really looked really intriguing, and leading up to the films being released, there were a lot of negative reviews coming out, and there was a lot of sources stating that there were things in the film that were cut out, and I was just hearing a lot of negativity around this film, and so I was ready to prepare for the worst. I was ready to go into this film, expect the lowest common denominator in this film, and this film is directed by Daniel Espinosa, who brought us Life. Life had one of the best theories ever, where a lot of people thought that Life was a prequel to Venom, and to this day, I find it as an unofficial prequel to Venom, even though it really isn't, and that breaks my heart. However, that theory is a lot better than this film. I was certainly disappointed in this film. I don't think it is the garbage film that everybody thinks or says, but I really liked this film for what the film was, and I put it in the same vein as the first Venom, except I came out of this film enjoying this film a lot more than I did the first Venom, because I came out of the first Venom very disappointed, but with this one I kind of came out and kind of got what I wanted in this film. I thought it was a lot of fun. There were some great moments, there were some great CGI. You see this in the trailer, the way that they move Michael Morbius when he's in his vampire form, I thought was great. There are certainly horror images in this film that really doesn't give it its pop or its due. I really like that they were trying to go for something different, but ultimately this film feels like a rushed film. This film is, no pun intended, all killer, no filler. It just moves at a really great pace. It's about an hour 45 minutes, and it definitely moves really, really quick. I want to say that this film, the pacing of this film is kind of in the same vein as Dracula Untold, another movie that a lot of people didn't like, but I certainly had a lot of fun with that film. And it isn't the garbage film that a lot of people say, but I had a lot of fun with that film, and I put Morbius in that vein. I really enjoyed that film for what that film was, and I really enjoyed this film for what this film was. It doesn't have that moment where you want to where you want to take a breath and just soak in a lot of things. And you can definitely tell that Sony just took a sledgehammer to this film and just cut this film up to shit, because there are a lot of plot points in this film that really go from one point to another without explanation, and it just feels like you're missing a lot of the story in this film. Tyrese Gibson and his partner in the film, they play the cops who are trying to investigate all these murders that are going around, and they really don't get a lot of screen time. They don't get a lot of character development, and you just feel like they were just there just to be there. There wasn't a lot of things that really intrigued me about them. They really didn't captivate me. They probably get like 3 or 4 scenes throughout the film, and they're very spaced out. So whenever they are on screen, you kind of remember, oh yeah, you guys are still here, but it doesn't feel like they are part of this film. It feels like they were just shoehorned in, and that's what I feel like this whole film was. It felt like they were just throwing a lot of things throughout this whole film, and they were trying to see what would make it very intriguing. And for the most part, I thought the CGI, I thought Jared Leto as Michael Morbius, and even Matt Smith, I think Matt Smith is the best part, but I think for the most part, everybody did the best that they possibly could. And you're going to hear this from a lot of people. It really does feel like it's a rushed film that just wanted to get to the post-credit scene, because Sony probably thought, you know what, we learned our lessons from The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and we're not gonna rush anything. This film feels so rushed just to get to the post-credit scenes that it really feels very frustrating for this film. Like I said, it really isn't all that bad. It just really isn't the film that I wanted or expected, because it feels like they cut a lot of the film out and a lot of the meat out in this film that just made it very incoherent, very unnatural, and it just felt like they were trying to do too much and trying to rush so much that they forgot to make a very good movie. Because I feel like before the pandemic, when this film was supposed to come out back in 2020, I felt like they had a really good structure of what they wanted to do with Michael Morbius in this film and everything else. But after time went on and we got Spider-Man No Way Home, this film was supposed to come out back in January of this year, about a month after No Way Home. And it felt like after No Way Home, they just went back into the editing studio and reshot the ending and reshot the post-credit scenes, because it just felt like it was just out of nowhere. Nothing feels more rushed or more shoehorned in than the post-credit scenes, which, spoiler warning, I will be getting into, but after my rating for this film, because I was planning on doing a spoiler talk for this film, but there's just nothing really for me to talk about that is very spoilerific or something that is going to give away plot points of this film. I will say this, they do try to make a love interest in this film. It just felt out of nowhere, and it felt like they just shoehorned that in, and it just didn't make sense. But overall, like I said, it's not garbage, it's not the worst thing ever, but I had a small degree of fun with this film, just not as much fun as I wanted to have with this film, because I do think that there are some things in this film that you can nitpick or you can point out that you have an issue with, and I will 100% agree. I will say, yeah, you know what, that is an issue, but I still had fun with this film. It worked for me to a certain degree. This isn't a movie I'm going to be rushing out to see multiple times in theaters like I did with No Way Home or what I did with Avengers Endgame, but I thought it was, for the most part, I thought if you want to see this film in theaters, you won't hate yourself for watching this film in theaters. I thought you can still have a lot of fun with this film and still get some enjoyment, even though it isn't a perfect film or it isn't the best film ever, but I still had fun with it. I just wish it was a little bit more tighter and a lot of more cleaner. But overall, I'm going to go ahead and give Morbius a 6 out of 10. It's the same rating that I gave Venom, and I thought it was on the same lifeline as Venom. I don't think this is going to be derailing anything. It was a bit of a disappointment, and I hope if they are able to do a sequel to this film, I hope they're able to do it better and have it more clean. I hope they don't really overreact a little bit too much. But overall, what are your thoughts on Morbius? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Go ahead and let me know down in the comments what you think. And if you like this review, go ahead and click that like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on more reviews. Now, with that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and get into spoilers now. Just regarding the post-credit scenes that really didn't vibe with me, that really didn't intrigue me. So that's your spoiler warning. This is the spoiler section that I'm going to be talking about with the post-credit scenes. So we get two mid-credit scenes. There's nothing after the end credits. The first one is basically you see the rift that you see at the end of No Way Home, and you see Michael Keaton's character, Adrian Toomes, just go up in an empty jail cell, and he's just hoping that the food is better in that place, and then he gets immediately released because he didn't do anything. He just showed up out of thin air, and so he just basically was just released. And you do get to see this in the trailers, but however, there is a moment, I believe towards the end of the film, where you see Michael Morbius. I'm going to post a picture up here or here. You can definitely tell it was reshot at the last second, because they put that image on a TV screen, and when I saw that, I'm like, okay, that was supposed to be in the end credits. That was supposed to be in the post-credit scene. So that was the first one. And the second one was just Michael Morbius is driving out into the middle of fucking nowhere, and then Adrian Toomes shows up in his new Vulture suit. How he got it, who knows? But he shows up and he's trying to recruit Morbius for what assumes is the Sinister Six. But he tells Morbius that he wants to do something good, probably tricking Morbius, and then later finding out that Vulture was trying to do bad. But he says that it has something to do with Spider-Man, which means that the spell that Doctor Strange casted at the end of No Way Home actually had an effect on everybody who knew Peter Parker. So by now, probably he only knows Spider-Man as Spider-Man, but I knew what the context of the post-credit scenes were, and there aren't a lot of Spider-Man references in this film. There are still some references, but there aren't a lot, and it really just felt like they just shot it and just stuck it in there and thought that it would have generated a lot of buzz. These are my thoughts on the post-credit scenes. So until next time, this is Josie Reviews.